Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on this webinar episode where we're going to be talking about great online resources for children's ministry. So this is a place where we're going to be discussing where you can get some ideas, whether it's crafts, games, experiments, snacks. Our special guest here today is Jillian Warmbow. Jillian, can you go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi, everybody. My name's Jillian Warmbow. Some people might know me as Warmby on Instagram. I'm the children's director at the Rock Church of Fort Myers. Been doing that for a couple of years, taught Sunday school for several years before that. Currently writing our own curriculum for Kids Zone and have a lot of exciting things going on.
All right. Thank you, Jillian. So, before we get started with the webinar, just mentioning a couple things, just some quick housekeeping before we dive into it. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, go ahead and put them into that chat area. So what I'll do is, as the moderator, I'll take a look at that. I can prompt Jillian, and her and myself can go ahead and discuss some of those things. And we'll also be sharing links through there as well. So any thoughts, questions, ideas that you have, we want to hear about resources that you like too, so that the overall community can hear about them. So with that, one of the questions, Jillian, we got when we were emailing to share about this topic was that people were talking about how a lot of us are just trying to find good apostolic curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
And, I personally, my team for the Sunday school classes use Word of Flame, but we're going to talk about how we kind of modify some of that stuff. But tell us about what you do, and kind of your philosophy behind that whole thing. And I think that'll start a good conversation.
Okay. When I first started as children director, we started off with the Word of Flame. We used the Kids Power Hour, which was really fun, lots of excitement, great ideas. It was really creative. The issue we ran up on was a lot of it, unfortunately, wasn't relevant to our kids. We have kids coming from all different backgrounds, a lot of them really rough. And it really wasn't getting home to the things that they were going through. So what happened is we ended up going through and modifying every single lesson. So basically we were rewriting. We were taking this framework and then we were rewriting the whole thing, keeping bits here and there, which worked. It was great. But couple years ago, I went and visited another church. It was in Fresno, Brother Morton's church. I believe it's pastored by somebody else currently. But I followed the children's director around and I asked her, I said, "Oh, well, what curriculum do you use?" And she told me she wrote everything. And it really convicted me. It convicted me because she pointed out, she said, we are going and we're studying and we're praying and we're saying, God, what do you want us to tell our kids that are here right now? So I came home and I put everything away and I told my staff, I said, that's it. We're going to write our own curriculum. So I started off with Summer Splash, which turned out amazing. Just went and we studied and we prayed and God gave us these amazing lessons. And we've had a lot of fun with that. I think I've written 2, 4. I think I'm on my 5th series right now. I'm getting ready to write my 6th. So I'm having fun with it. I'm finding that I'm able to reach out a lot better to the kids in my community.
Excellent. So, there's a couple things I want to point out from what you just said there, which is I found a similar problem when it comes to some of the curriculums we've used before too, which is a lot of times it's geared toward kids that have grown up in church, whereas we have a very strong bus ministry. So our kids, there's times they'll come to class, they know nothing. Who's Adam? Who's Jonah? Right? So those are some challenges we have. So I understand where you're coming from. and what you're saying. Now, a counterpoint that I'll put out in regard to writing your own curriculum is this. I really think carefully about that, only because of the fact that if that's your strength, great. And personally, from what I've seen of what you've put together, Jillian, I think it is your strength. You guys are putting together some really awesome stuff. But I would also say don't feel bad about using curriculum like Word of Flame, because there's a lot of good points to it. And what we're going to do today is we're going to show you some different sites where we've gotten a lot of great comments in regard to, hey, where did you find that experiment, or where did you get that great object lesson, or how do I find, where you came up with these great decoration ideas. We're going to actually show you very specifically some sites we recommend, some areas on YouTube, Pinterest, that we'd like to go through. But before we get into that, I think just a preface to the actual sites, instead of just making it a big, link sharing session, which there will be a good amount of that too, is in how you're constructing things, because I think there is a portion of the audience that would really be interested in doing that for themselves, because I do that for myself when it comes to kids church as well. So I definitely see what you're talking about. What advice would you share for people when you've been constructing lessons? How do you get there, and what components do you think are important for a well-rounded lesson?
I will say that I do sometimes pull out the kids' power hour. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I do pull it out for other things too. So I haven't totally thrown it aside. Okay. I do think it's
Mm-hmm.
great. Like I said, it was a great framework, and I've used it as a framework.
Yeah.
So when I'm constructing a lesson, I start off and first I decide, okay, where am I going with this series? For me, it's easier to decide on a theme before I go into deciding on what my actual topic is. Um, but sometimes I have the topic and then I get the theme. But basically having one or the other and going from there, deciding on the breakdown. So let's see, one of the series I did was Identity in Christ, and I wanted to talk about how you can kind of look at how your body is made and see that, wow, God has made me so wonderfully, and look at how these things all kind of come together as examples. And I said, well, I want to talk about the heart and our prayer life, and I want to talk about the structure and foundation of the Word of God. And I said, like, it's our body, our bones. And so I broke down different topics. Talked about the brain and correlated it with faith. And so kind of having a breakdown, I want to touch this topic, I want to touch this topic, I want to touch this topic. And then going in and saying, okay, do I have a skit I want to do? Do I have an experiment? Is there a craft? My group is so big right now, and I don't have necessarily the staff to do crafts. I love crafting. It's one of my favorite things, but I can't do it.
Oh,
So that's one of the
interesting.
things that's kind of on the sidelines for me.
Yeah.
But determining what aspects I want to put in, and then going out to look at those resources and what can I use to get
Mm-hmm.
the point across.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like crafts. A funny thing about crafts is we've gone back and forth on crafts too, especially when you talk about like Vacation Bible School,
Yeah.
because the bigger your Vacation Bible School gets, the more expensive the crafts piece of things can get too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but activities can be actually a lot of bang for the buck when it comes to the amount of fun, and actually can be pretty economical too. So, I feel like you do really good when it comes to skits, when it comes to activities and games like that. So, um, let's kind of transition into some of those pieces. So, when it comes to where you get ideas, talk to us about some of the areas that you get your inspiration from.
Um, let's see. Well, okay. I will say for skits,
Hmm.
um, skits are totally improv.
Okay.
But a lot of times I'll take a story, and I think the Bible is just interesting as is.
Hmm.
Plain and simple. You read it, you have your action, you have your adventure, you have your suspense, your mystery. It's in there.
Hmm.
And I think sometimes, we just got to take that and go and say, okay, well, let's put it modern, because sometimes they see it better modern. And sometimes I
Hmm.
don't modernize it. Currently, my series, I have literally gone through and told the Bible story just plain as is, and we just get excited and we get the action out there.
Hmm.
Um, but with the skits, I think having making them feel like they're in that environment is really important.
Hmm.
So part of my ideas is always, what can I do to make them feel like they're right there in the middle of this Bible story?
Hmm.
Um, so, for example, the 10 plagues with Moses, I was like, I want them to know what those plagues felt like.
Yeah.
Um, so I used silly string when it came to the frogs and bombarded the kids with silly string. I threw
Uh-huh.
glitter on them for flies. I just went through and I was like, what can I use to mimic this?
Uh-huh.
Um, so for me, I think it's really important for them to feel the environment, to feel what that those people were going through. Um, Adam and Eve, one time I did a skit that basically they were Adam and Eve and they faced that temptation, and
Hmm.
my kids all broke. Um, they totally gave into temptation and chewed on that gum and tried to hide it from me when I came back. Which is great because kids totally fall for my little tricks. But they felt it and they then understood how easy it is to fall into temptation and how good God is in giving us grace.
Hmm.
Um, there are skits out there on the internet. If
Hmm.
I'm looking for a skit, sometimes I have gone on YouTube and kind of looked up, Adam and Eve skit. And sometimes I'll find a hit, sometimes I won't. I'll
Yeah.
spend hours searching. I haven't found a good spot that really gave me a bunch of scripts. Um, do you have any? I don't know if you
Well,
do skits so much as me.
well, I actually have done a lot of skits. I use them here and there. I used to use them a lot more. I would say similar to what you were talking about with just how you come up with skit ideas is that I try to and I was just actually talking to somebody about this exact thing where I'll take a Bible story, right? Let's say, for example, Jonah, and you figure out, okay, well, what is the main point of what you're trying to get across? And then how do you throw it into the ridiculous machine, right? Where it's like, okay, like how do we make sure like this storm looks crazy? How can I make like a whale head that somebody can actually jump
Yeah.
into? So we actually did it. We actually made something where somebody could jump into the head and then they walk through
Awesome.
the back part. So yeah, I'll have to put up a video of what it actually looked like. I'm just so lazy when it comes to video editing, but I started to gather some of that stuff together. We did it about 5 years ago, and it was actually a lot of fun. But I would say it's actually really hard. It seems like to get some of that skit material online. Um, so yeah, we like doing skits too. Another thing I'll throw out there is video can be interesting, especially if you do video and live at the same time. Where I recommend this for like a small children's ministry department, where hey, if you don't have a bunch of people to act in there with you, or you're a 1-2 person show, you could actually videotape yourself and then interact with your video, right? So we did that. We did a skit. That's another thing I'll have to post sometime, just in case it stirs up any ideas. But what we did was we actually got this idea. We had in our costume closet these beards and these shamrock hats. So we decided that we were going to be Irish bank robbers that had heard that the streets of heaven are made of gold, right? So we were going to do the ultimate bank heist, right? So we posed as kids to infiltrate Sunday school so we could learn about how to get to heaven, right? How to get into heaven. And by the end of it, there was actually a fake Skype call where we videoed it ahead of time, and I just memorized what I would say in interaction to the video, and the kids and even some of the adults were a little confused, like, is this really happening? I mean, like, he's here, but he's also there with a beard and a hat, like, what's going on, right? So those are kind of some fun things, because I'm sure some of the people that are watching this, you may not have a very large team, but you don't need one oftentimes.
Wow.
Or, the other problem that I've seen that people tell me about is that they may not have a large team on Sunday morning, right? But if you're doing a video, if you're doing a video, then you could use anybody, really, right? You could use your family, you could use other people in church that don't help in the children's ministry side of the house on Sunday mornings, but they'll be able to interact and do something and help you from that perspective. So I'm big on that type of stuff, where it makes sense. If you can do the live stuff, that's always kind of fun, like the interplay and the stuff that happens from just doing stuff live. But yeah, that's an area where I think it is a little harder to find some good resources. Sometimes I've found, I'll throw out a site for you guys. There's a site where I get some good deals, and maybe some of you guys have heard of it, but if you haven't, it's called Only 144. So I've gotten some interesting deals. I'm not crazy about all of them, but if you go to only144.com, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat, what's there is that you can get large amounts of different types of materials for just like 99 bucks or whatever, and it's like $1,000 worth of material or something like that, right?
Wow.
So yeah, so I've gotten a lot of neat ideas. Like there was one that was a curriculum that was based off of Angry Birds, and it was actually Angry Words, right? But it was actually a lot of fun, right? So it gave us some ideas, and we based it off of that. So, with that, Jillian, let's go ahead and transition our conversation to actually talk about some places where people can get some ideas, because I know that's going to be a big thing for people. They, oftentimes they want to know, okay, well, uh, I've got Word of Flame and I want to add a game, but I don't even know where to look. Or, I'd love to add a science experiment that'd be exciting for the kids. Where do we go to look? So let me throw that at you. I know we talked about YouTube, Pinterest. Where do you want to start?
Well, the game sites, I sent you several.
Mm-hmm.
I love going on these game websites and just searching through all of the games because there's so many games out there, so many different variations. And you can take any game and turn it into whatever you want it to be. So I believe you have them up already. Yeah, you're awesome. So
So,
youth group games. You can go by category. So let's say that you want to just open up with the game. You go to an icebreaker game. I love icebreaker games because it kind of gets them to break the ice where they can get to know each other and kind of feel a little bit more comfortable. It lightens
mm-hmm.
the environment almost when you have a group of kids that don't know each other.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so there's icebreakers. A lot of these websites, what you'll find is it'll give you the option for a small group, a large group, medium, inside, outside, amount of supplies. And as you see on this one, many of them do have ratings.
Mm-hmm.
Usually if it's been posted, most people liked it, so it gets rated pretty high. So those aren't totally accurate, but sometimes they are. I'm not sure if this is the website or if it's another one. I found some of them where they actually have commentary, and
Mm-hmm.
you can comment and say, I did this game and this was great, but this was bad.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a benefit, and this is something I altered. Um, and those kind of things are great because you can go through and read those if you're willing to take the time
Mm-hmm.
and find out ways of altering a game to suit your group. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
games are pretty good.
So So, speaking of that, like I really like this one that you sent over, which is greatgroupgames.com,
Yeah, that
just
one's good.
because, yeah, like you said, I like the way that they organize it, where you're just trying to figure out, okay, depending on the size of your group, okay, well, I can narrow down how many games, because here's the other half of the problem. Once you start to do a lot of online searching, there's almost too much stuff.
There is.
Yeah, I chuckle when people like, oh, well, I can't find anything. It's like, what? Like, there's too many things out there. So sometimes it's really filtering that's almost more important here, right?
I
Like
don't know if
this.
you saw it. Something I like that
Mhm.
I don't think I'd noticed before. This one gives you the PowerPoint template.
Yes.
Sometimes they have resources as well. Sometimes they give you that little Jeopardy, Monopoly, just whatever kind of game you were considering doing, but don't have the
Hmm.
wherewithal to kind of come up with your own template.
Yeah, yeah. So I highly recommend the Jeopardy PowerPoint templates.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've used this one, but yeah, we've used that in our classes. It's a lot of fun at the end of a quarter. One of the teachers, he's really good at that. If any of you follow Kevin Theobald online, he does a really good job with that type of stuff. And just pro tip here, if you have an Android phone, there's actually a game show soundboard by a
Yes, I've
company called
used it.
yeah, Brisk. So it's by like I think the company's name is Brisk, but just look for Game Show Soundboard and it's a blast, right? So it adds a lot of flavor to the overall atmosphere of what you're doing. So this is a good one. I'll make sure in a second to go ahead and put these things into the comments, and we'll make sure to also email these out after as well. This next one you mentioned, this is cool too. So tell us about what you like about the Source for Youth Ministry, and what you like about this resource.
This one doesn't have as many search options.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I don't want to be given a lot of search options because
Mm-hmm.
it's like having, you go out to eat and you have this huge menu and you're like, what do I do? It's a little overwhelming. So it just kind of gives you a breakdown. And then this one, it gives you the whole game description as you go
Mm-hmm.
down.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I like just reading it as I go and I don't want to just see the list of titles. Because when you see a list of titles, you don't know what the game is. This gives you a better idea because you can just read it as you go. Read the first couple of sentences and say, yeah, don't like it, move on. Ooh, I like this, read the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you examples. A lot of, like I said, the different alternative games, ways of
Mm-hmm.
switching it up. I really like switching up games. I don't like going by the rules. I like making my own.
Mm-hmm.
So for games especially.
Yeah, and I'll just throw this out there, of course, with all of these different resources, I would not say that they are necessarily made by apostolics. Most of them are not. So, of
No.
course, use some wisdom, but a big thing I think that's worth pointing out is really start with the end in mind, right? Like, what is it that you're trying to have your kids go home with? How are you trying to close out your service? And then work backwards and figure out how games can support whatever point you're trying to make. And it seems like you really like doing that as well, right, Jillian?
I do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Another thought on the games, just
mm-hmm,
because we mentioned the Jeopardy, it reminded me. Um, I did a lesson that was like Game Show Sunday. And I literally went through and I researched all these different game shows. And you can kind of look up game shows, look up board games. And sometimes that game can suit your needs and get the point across of what you're trying to do. Okay, that
uh-huh.
Human Hungry Hippos game, I want to do that so bad.
Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly play this video to give you an idea. So yeah, so I've seen this and I've seen a variation of this.
With the
Um,
skateboards,
oh yes, exactly. So
that's the one I want to play.
yes, right. Basically you tie the person's feet and they're laying on a skateboard or better yet, there's a lot of those square boards with wheels on them
Yeah.
that I know for me when I was a kid in gym class that we would love playing with those things. So yeah, so same exact setup except for you've got somebody either laying on one or two of those boards and you've got ropes or something to keep pulling them back. So you throw them forward, then you pull them back, and
Lots of
that kind of
rope.
yeah. And there's plenty of action and tomfoolery that can happen there. But that brings us to that next category of things where it comes to ideas. So let's talk about Pinterest and YouTube, and I think we'll kind of go back and forth between those. But talk to me about your thoughts on Pinterest. Kind of what you've done with it, what you think is important to point out to people, and I'll chime in as well.
Okay. The thing with Pinterest is you can go pin crazy. It's very, very easy. Um, so something important is to decide what your boards are going to be before you start pinning. If
Uh-huh.
you're going to have a board for games, you probably want to do a breakdown of, is this a sit down game, a stand up game, indoor, outdoor? I know I have one game board. I've got like 200 pins on it. I can't even keep up anymore. Um, so a good point is to divide it up and, kind of put a theme to each one. So doing a game board, skits. I think I have at least one board that's skits or
Mhm.
crafts. And if you're doing crafts, you also want to divide that up because crafts, there's tons and tons of craft ideas on Pinterest. Um,
Mhm.
so Pinterest is just a great option for that. Now, secondary to pinning things and having them organized, because really you got to start with organization, is there is an option for collaboration on Pinterest.
Mhm.
I found this out a while ago and I've totally used it to my advantage and let other people start pinning. So you can add people to pin to your boards.
Mhm.
I have, for example, my nursery class, I have it set up so all of my nursery teachers can pin to nursery crafts and nursery lesson ideas,
Oh, that's cool.
nursery level games, things like that. So they can
Mhm.
all add, and that's helpful.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So yeah, I'd highly agree when it comes to the collaboration piece. And something I will confess here is I was really biased against Pinterest as a tool because all I knew of Pinterest was, oh, it's the place that you pin hairstyles and shoes. I didn't really take it seriously as a resource, but I've definitely come to find that it does a couple things really well. It's just a great bookmarking engine. And as you mentioned, the collaboration is awesome. So that's something that we're building out, having a joint board here. Yeah, I'll give you some examples of things that we've pinned that I think is really fun. Like we've done this turkey bowling before, which is pretty hilarious. It's a great way to tenderize your turkeys around Thanksgiving, right? You've got the frozen turkey and different sodas. I would empty them and fill them with water, just me personally. But that's something fun. And another one that's really neat that I'll highlight is over here, this whole like human foosball thing.
Love
So
it.
yeah, I've seen that as something really fun to do, for like a special event. Or you could even instead kind of do it with just like lots of tape on the ground and have it so that people can only stay in a certain box, right? There's a lot of variations to it. But the big thing is, oh, this is hilarious too, like this elephant game. Oh man, there's
Oh my word, that's so funny.
yeah, yeah. So it is hilarious. We have definitely done this with great success. Um, you can either do only like one leg, or it's even more crazy when you do two legs
Mhm.
of pantyhose and have a ball in each. Is just insane. So there's a lot of fun things that you can do. Pinterest is a great place to get ideas. Um, with that, let's one of the things that I want to point out is we've we've started, as an example here, to also create some different boards. So games is an area where there's some ideas. One of the things I want to point out that is really big for me is experiments. I
Mhm.
think experiments are fantastic because crafts are good. But like I said, overall impact is it's good, but I question the fun level sometimes. Whereas I feel like a good experiment, everybody really enjoys it, and it can be actually pretty cheap. So I'm gonna point out a couple sites that I would highly recommend. So we've got some of these that are pinned here. You can check them out, and I'll continue to add to this. So we've been doing this over the last few days, but let me give you an example. One of these is like this giant smoke rings, and the one I'll point out is this guy Steve Spangler. If you don't know about him, and you're in Kidmin, know about him. You should check this guy's stuff out. It is awesome because he has specific instructions on exactly how you do his experiments. He tells you exactly what he uses. So if you go to his site, of course he sells the stuff too, but he really makes it very easy. Even if you didn't buy the stuff from him, he makes it really, really clear how to do it. I have gotten some great ideas from this guy. I'll give you an example. We actually did this in kids' church. So check this out. So what you can do is you take a trash can, right? And Jillian, can you see what I've got going with the video?
Yes.
Okay. So take a trash can, cut a hole in the bottom, cover the top with a shower curtain, right? And a big elastic as you're seeing there, like a bungee cord, and you've basically made this air cannon. So he's about to show how he can use the air cannon and now one up the craziness of it, and he's actually going to fill it with smoke, right? So we were using this as an illustration of the Holy Ghost, talking about how, like, you can't see the Holy Ghost, but it's powerful, right? And that, you know, just like the wind, you can't see it, but you can feel the power of it, and then it's there, right? So we were playing a game where kids were actually knocking cups off of other kids' heads there. So you're about to see them do it, and it's pretty neat. So I'll go ahead and fast forward just a little bit, and you'll see how this works. Here we go. Wow, they spent a good amount of time filling those up. Here we go. So they're about to go ahead and fire those off their heads. So take a look at this, right? So it works quite well. Definitely you can experiment with the size of the overall hole and stuff like that, but it actually makes smoke rings just like that. There's a couple different ways that you can generate the smoke, but that's an idea, right? You can get a lot of ideas from him. Like he does elephant toothpaste. He does, as you can see, there's all kinds of stuff when it comes to the cornstarch and water. So Steve Spangler, huge recommendation to check out Steve Spangler. Another one that I think is really fun is Hoopla Kids. So the Hoopla Kids Lab is pretty good too. I'll show you an example here. This is pretty common, like basically, making some of that slime. So if you haven't done it, check it out. It's fairly popular. So that's just one example. You can also do separated water into different layers, etc. So they have a lot of different ideas. Hoopla Kids Lab is another one where you can get some really fun science inspiration that you can bake into object lessons. Now, this is another one. Incredible Science is one that I would recommend, where they're just going to show you some crazy things that you might be able to use as well. So sometimes it's just to be neat, and hopefully you can bake it into a lesson, but it gives you an idea of just some of the crazy things that are out there, right? So that's an invisible polymer ball as an example. Here's another one, this Brus Pup one. They've done some weird things with fire. They also have, other interesting things like using that pomegranate bottle. They're actually able to light paper on fire. Different ways, whether fire is, of course, a very controversial topic in children's ministry. I'll tell you that I personally love fire, but do it safely. So, for example, I'll tell you a quick story about this thing here, right? So we've used this. This is an experiment where, we're actually pushing methane through dish soap water, and it creates these bubbles where it's got the methane in it, and you can use a lighter and create these huge flames. So that's how we're actually doing that. Note here, what keeps you from becoming a giant torch is that the water of the dish soap, whatever it covers, is going to evaporate and protect you. But you need to follow the instructions. So specifically, I have my arm pretty much wet all the way up to my elbows. My friend there with the Dr. Seuss hair did not follow instructions, and his arm hair was a little crispy. He's fine, of course. He definitely took his precautions beyond that, but it has such an effect. Like it's a lot of fun. If you're being safe with it, it's always very much an eye catcher. So I love that kind of stuff, but just to give you some ideas. I'll just mention a couple more quickly. This Whiz Kid Science is kind of cute. It's kids talking about different science experiments that they recommend. Here's what I thought was interesting about this. Like, specifically, um, let's see, in their slime that they made here, if you're into making slime, I kind of felt like this slime was actually a different viscosity from what I've seen before. So, check that out. A lot of these things are very repetitive in what everybody does, but it'll give you some great ideas. See, like this making slime, it's like more translucent than I've ever seen in other slime. And maybe that's just a very kidmin thing to say that I'm excited about translucent slime. But yeah, so I'm fairly impressed with some of the stuff that they do. It's really fun, like the tie-dye milk thing. We used that for our VBS this year, and that had a lot of mileage. Kids really liked that. Um, I'll also mention this e-learning. This was an okay one too. Basically, being able to shove a dowel through a balloon, and that gets kids thinking because they would assume that it's going to explode and everybody's going to freak out. So there's some fun things you can do. And if you go ahead and you search specifically science experiments for school kids, you'll see that they have a lot of different options that are there. So, you might be able to get some good ideas there. And then we're back to the Hungry Hippos. So we've got some other ideas that are pinned here. Jillian, is there anything you want to add when it comes to science experiments or any other things along that line?
With the science experiments, definitely doing them beforehand. Don't wait until the day of, Um,
Oh, so true.
I'm sure everybody's gone through that where they didn't have time, where they forgot, they ran out of time, forgot an ingredient. It really kind of creates a damper on what the goal is. Um, the I also wanted to mention with the Pinterest, um, you can follow people on Pinterest just like you do on like Facebook or Instagram. Um, and a lot of times you can find other Kidsman workers on there.
Uh-huh.
I know personally I follow several Kidmin people on Pinterest. But the other thing is you can also search. And a lot of times, if you search, it's like a constant update on what they have available. So if you search crafts,
Mm-hmm.
go back and you search crafts again 5 minutes later, it's going to be a totally different list.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
there's tons of things out there on Pinterest.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of the viewer responses. So it's neat to see that our good friend Philip is on here. Philip, we're actually going to be talking about apostolicssundayschool.com and featuring that in just a minute because this is an awesome resource because it is actually written by an apostolic. So there's some great object lessons there. We're going to go ahead and open up the browser and check that out. But looking at some of these other comments here, um, awesome. Philip believes fire is awesome too. That's good to hear. Uh, and somebody's mentioning about the discipleship project. I've noticed that that's a new Word of Flame curriculum. Interesting premise. So, uh, yeah, I don't have any thoughts on that there, but one of the other things that somebody was recommending was the cornstarch and water. And so there's a couple different ways that you can use that. One, it's just really neat and fun. Just throwing this out there, object lesson wise, what I've used it for is teaching about how we want to be in relation to our the way I used it was basically saying that, like when you hold it in your hand, right, that you want to be able to make sure that in the hands of God, that we can be soft and pliable and that we just melt in his hands, right? And so the cool thing with cornstarch and water is when you're holding an open palm, the thing just like flows through your hands. But that, when when you've got the Holy Ghost, God gives you the power to be able to push against the pressures of the world, right? So when you go ahead and you like try to crush the thing in your hands, it gets hard as a rock, right? So that's kind of how I've used it. And I think kids love that, right? Because it's cheap and it's so tangible, and they can sit there and squeeze it and think about it. And, that's a really fun thing that they can do. I don't know if you've played around with that as well and have any fun things to share with people.
On the cornstarch and water. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
my browser closed out on me.
Oh, no.
I missed
Okay.
part of that.
Okay. Well, yeah. So, that's speaking of object lessons, let's go
Okay.
ahead and take a look at apostolicsundaySchool.com. I'm going to go ahead and pull that back up here, and here we go. So, apostolicsundaySchool.com has, I really like their layout, and I have huge respect for Brother Philip Booker, and he's actually going to be featured in an upcoming webinar where he's going to share some of his favorites on the site. But as you can see here, there's a lot of great options when it comes to lessons that you might want to do yourself. I like how they put the videos together to make it really, really clear. So there's videos and there's text. I am so impressed with this. I just don't have the discipline for this. I am happy to try to put a video together when people are asking me, hey, how did you do that? But I am so impressed by the way that they have everything laid out. So if you've been looking for good object lesson ideas, we highly recommend this one. They've done a really great job. He's also got some neat teaching tips that the guys here at ApostolicSundaySchool.com have put together, and I think there's some really great things that you can get from here. Jillian, any thoughts that you want to have for sharing with people about what you like about this site?
I love this site. I will say he has on the homepage there
Mm-hmm.
is some information about kind of like Sunday school teacher training almost. I want to say it was on the homepage before,
Mm.
but he talks about having a bus ministry, running tips for Sunday school teachers.
Tips for Sunday school teachers. Where is
Yeah,
it?
you just passed it down.
Mm-hmm.
Helpful tips.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the part one, part two. If you read that, it's definitely kind of eye-opening, very much a reminder of what we're doing, what our goals should be. I read it and just was like, wow, they really got it on point.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
that was really encouraging, but I love how he presents the experiments and the different lessons.
Mm-hmm.
If you look them up, most of them he has two different vantage points. So not only are you reading what the experiment is, you're seeing all the supplies, but you get to see it from, right in front of you, and you can also
Mm-hmm.
see it from the side,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of helps understand how things are supposed to work better. Um, so I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
Props to Philip.
Yeah. Yeah. And as mentioned, we'll definitely be having him featured on one of these upcoming webinars, because I think it'll be great for you all to interact with him in regard to some of the stuff he's put there, and give him some feedback, and for him to just get to share that type of stuff. So definitely recommend this. I know there's a big need for this overall, amongst apostolic kidmin. So it's great that he's got that going. Um, let's go ahead and also take a look at, one of the other things that we talked about was getting ideas from Instagram.
Yeah.
So, in the last few minutes here before we just open it up for overall just like discussion and looking at people's questions. So if you got questions, if you got comments, ideas, start popping those into the comments area. And in about 5 minutes, we're going to really hit that up and just free flow, have a conversation about anything that you guys want to chat about. But Jillian, you mentioned some people that have been fun for you to follow. So maybe let's go ahead and talk about some of those.
Yes.
So,
Okay. So number one, I am always talking about Blue Bomber Crew.
I appreciate that.
I love what you guys are doing in San Jose. Always something big, exciting, just it's great. You guys did combine your Sunday school and your bus ministry Instagrams into one. I love it. I'm constantly telling my Sunday school teachers, anybody involved, I'm like, you have to go follow this because some of us, right now, you guys have something great going on. Well, some of us are starting off really small. Maybe you just have a Sunday school classroom. Maybe you only have 5 kids, 10 kids. Um, I think it is really, really important to see what other people are doing and kind of challenge your vision. See what you can be, what God can do in your local church and your city, in your state. I mean, it gets bigger, and you've got to see that it's not limited. That God has great things in store, and I love Instagram for that. It has definitely encouraged me to see everybody else doing these big crazy things, and I'm like, yes, I'm getting there. We're gonna do this. So ILC, I like what they have. You can actually they have that's Brother Booker's church.
Mhm.
You can actually sign up to get like updates on some of these pages. Some of them have blogs. Um, Another one I like is okay, you're pulling up mine.
Yeah, I've
Um,
gotten a lot of great ideas from yours, so we have to give a shout out to that.
yeah. Um, if you follow me, you know I'm posting crazy. Yesterday, all of these videos, I had one of our teenagers as a helper, and he went around with the phone and was videotaping and got some great videos of the kids doing their memory verses. He did so good. I'm so proud of my kids.
Mhm.
Um, but I'll post videos of our skits. I'll post videos of just the random craziness that is Kids Zone because that's me. Another one from my church, actually, we have a children's youth group. It's Kia. I want to say it's Kia underscore TRC or
I think it's
TRC underscore
TRC.
Kia, one or the other. And they have a lot of games. Their focus is more on fellowship. They're not doing the Sunday school, they're doing the fellowship aspect of it. And the sister at my church who is in charge of that, she is just incredibly talented and loves fellowship. She is like fellowship all day, all night. Her name's Charlene, and she does this. So there's games, there's crafts, there's um, food things to do, but a lot of this can be incorporated in Sunday school too. I've totally stolen from her. Um, Somebody local, and I steal from her all the time. She's great. Another one is Christian Growth Center of in Colorado. Are you
Mhm.
familiar, Dwayne?
Yeah, his
Brother
stuff is
Uzzle,
inspiring too.
he is. And I wish that they would have an Instagram page for all their Kidsman stuff because you can follow his dad is Pastor Billy Uzzle and his mom. I can't remember what hers is off the top of my head. And they
Mhm.
all of them post what's going on, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
Um,
They are
Incredible
having some
testimonies.
serious,
Yeah.
yeah. I think something I really like about what they do is, I feel like their church has done such an awesome job of including the whole church when it comes to KidMin. And there's some really awesome forward-thinking stuff that he's shared on just how, like, they started that whole thing with, like, hot breakfast for all their kids. It's like,
Which
that's
is incredible.
incredible. Yeah, and I know, Brother Philip Booker's doing that now too, and that's starting to spread out. But he was the first one where I was seeing that was like, consistently, and also just with the church really taking some of these kids that they're picking up from the bus like under their wing. Yeah, I highly recommend checking out his Instagram because as you can see here, like there's just so many inspiring things. I think um, social media can be really depressing, but following the right people, it can be really inspiring. So I think that's neat, as we can see here with just some of the other awesome things they're doing with these buses. Yeah, his is really great. You're pointing out somebody else. Go ahead, and who's that again?
CGC. Kids World.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Now I follow like everybody from their church. Jess, I want to say it's Jess Cast,
Yeah, yeah,
is
her stuff is really good.
incredible. And she just has such a burden and a passion for these kids. And I love seeing that because it just encourages me even more. You're right about following the right people. You follow
Hmm.
these kidsmen people that just have a burden and have a passion, and it just makes you want to have it more.
On Just
Nope, I
Cast.
don't think that's her.
Yeah, I know, I know. That's
Let
not
me
her.
look at it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's find out.
I have her.
Okay. Yeah. We'll have to
Hold
pull her
on.
up.
She is Jess J Cast.
There we go. Okay.
JESSJKAST. I don't know if she's private or not. You forgot the Jess.
Yeah, yeah.
In
We're
private.
finding every possible. Okay. Suggest.
These are
Ah,
not the people to follow.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So
Jess J Cast. J right
S
there.
J. Okay. J cast. We are so close. We are so close, everybody. Okay. So with that,
Then there she is. Go follow her. She is
yes.
incredible.
Yeah.
She's gonna kill me for doing that. Um, but yeah, she works with the bus ministry, works with the Sunday school kids. They have CGC Kids World as well as their children's page.
Yep.
Just another church doing incredible things for God, incredible revival in their children's church.
So I
Oh, you have some of her posts. There you go.
yeah, I've got an assistant that helps me with kind of trying to collect up just stories of what cool people are doing. So I'll mention this. If you want to have some of your stories of Apostolic Kidmin featured on our Instagram feed, we would love to do that because the hope is that the Next Level Kidmin Instagram feed is just a place where all week long you're seeing what other ministries are doing and we're sharing ideas with each other and a way to facilitate that. Man, when I read her recent post, this was a tearjerker. It's just so awesome. Like she's really passionate about it and a lot of respect for what she's doing. And you and I were talking about the I like following some of these here too, like the uh, Brother Tony Spell's church is doing some
Yes.
pretty incredible
How
stuff.
about that Candy Rain from the helicopter?
Oh my word, that's insane. Yeah, so
It was awesome. But
yeah.
he does more than just the, helicopter Candy Rain. I mean, he really has just done incredible things with that kids ministry there.
Hmm.
And they've got a
So,
great team, lots of buses. If you
hmm.
listen to Summit, they like sent over a bus to another church just because his vision for bus ministry is so big. I want to say it was Brother Jerry Rowley was like, "Hey, I need a bus," and Brother Spell said, "You know what? I will rent a bus and send this bus to you
Yeah,
just
like
to help you out, get this bus ministry going." Just awesome.
so really inspiring stuff. So, we'll wrap up with this and then let's go ahead and look at the comments.
Yeah.
But something I would say is, again, a lot of why Next Level Kidmin was started was just because it seems like there aren't a lot of great places to make it easy for people to all get
Mm-hmm.
this type of stuff together. So one of the things that we'll be starting is we're going to have a wall of Instagram people to potentially follow, right? So all of these ones that we mentioned, unless any of these people would prefer we not have them there, we'll make sure to highlight that. And if you want to share your Kidmin too, we definitely want to see what you're doing. I want to be inspired by the cool things you guys are doing too, and make it easy for everybody to be able to share with each other. So you can head on to Next Level Kidmin and just send an email to the contact and let us know what your Instagram handle is, and we'll check it out and add you onto the wall as well. So it's a great opportunity for all of us to be following each other and getting great ideas from each other. So with that, let's go ahead and let's check out some of the comments here. So okay, let's see. Ooh, there's all kinds of interesting things that come up in these conversations here.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can't see them at all.
Okay. So let's see. Okay. Here we go. Okay. I'm heading up Sunday school in a small work. Okay, so I'm heading up Sunday school in a small work, trying to make Sunday school fun and interesting so they'll tell their friends and we will grow. This is something, here's my challenge to you. In Jillian, Philip, we were talking about this just a little while ago. Something I'll throw out there. Recently I was working with my team, and the kind of the mission statement of our Sunday school is that it should be so that Sunday school should be a place where it is equipping in such a fun and engaging way that kids not only show up every single week, but that they will naturally invite their friends and their family, right? So how do you know you're winning? You're winning when you see that they're consistent and they're actually inviting their friends and their family. And so I think that's really awesome what our commenters are saying there. So that's what I would say, for what you're doing, no matter the size, start to use Pinterest and other things, and definitely share with other people anything you're finding. But there's an ocean of that type of stuff. So for all of you that use curriculum, um, I, I think the big thing is teachers that are using curriculum, don't feel like you're boxed in by that stuff. Like
Yeah.
definitely, like that's like, if you were putting something like a microwave meal in, right? It's like, nobody said you can't add salt or paprika or, cayenne or anything like that, right? Like, so that's what these type of resources can definitely do for you. Another one that I think is cool is, okay, so how to motivate. Some people are talking about different ways to motivate. Velda Williams says, how to motivate: candy, junk food, point system for small prizes. Oh man, the point system, that's something funny that I'm sure we could all talk about. I've personally tried that, and it had varying results. I think we just made it too complicated. I dealt with, a small version of economic inflation, where there are different teachers. Like teachers were like keeping bad records, so they were totally like inflating things. Being like, yeah, sure, all my kids have 1,000 points. Like what? Like it is crazy. So
Candy,
yeah, candy
all the
is all.
way.
Yeah. And let's see, another one is, let's see. Nicole says, we have just started our bus ministry at Brother Jerry Rowley's church. And open the comment here. This is great. Okay, so where is this? I lost the comment.
Oh no.
Oh no, it's just like as people are typing, it's moving more quickly than I can read, which is kind of cool.
I hope I can read these all later.
Yeah, we'll have to make sure to send out some of this stuff later. Okay, so let's see. Oh yeah, so Susan says, how does everyone inspire their kids to learn their memory verses? I've so far been unable to motivate my kids to learn their memory verses. And yeah, I'd definitely say the candy, the little Dollar Tree prizes and stuff like that. Philip, you had a really cool suggestion. It was, do you remember what it was that he said? It was like ustoys.com. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. US
it
Toys.
was like ustoy.com. I think that was just it.
Yep. So Susan, according to Philip, it's actually even better prices than Oriental Trading. Bold claim. I know. So, check that out. That might be a cool resource to potentially have some prizes for your kids. So Curtis Lanny says, what about puppet ministry? Does anyone have any good suggestions for material? Oh, that's a good question.
That's the Instagram I forgot to mention. The Rock Church in Elk Grove, their puppets are so awesome.
Okay, yeah.
It was ustoy.com, by the way. I just saw it.
Yeah, ustoyco.com. So, for all of you that are wondering where you can get some cheap prizes, thank you, Philip. ustoyco.com. Check that out. Yeah, so check out the Rock Church's puppet ministry stuff. You're right.
Extreme. Oh man, what was it?
Yeah. I'll just throw this out when it comes to puppets. For me, I find for 2 through 5 year olds, they absolutely love puppets. For 6 through 9 year olds, it's like 50-50 depending on the crowd. I think like church kids that grow up in church tend to like puppets more than, some of our like hardened street kids that are like boo at some of the puppets. So it's been like 50-50. But I think what always seems to work is if the puppets are interacting with people as if they were real people, like that's kind of
Yeah.
fun. But if you're just using them to sing songs, they can be booed if you're dealing with age groups that are feeling too old for that type of stuff. So, and just my 2 cents. Um, let's see. Okay, so I saw Nicole's comment here. We've just started a bus ministry at Brother Jerry Rowley's church. What are some tips on getting organized? We're serving breakfast and then having a service for them, but we have went from having 30 regular kids to over 100 now with bus ministry. Wow. Awesome. Okay.
That is a great problem to have.
Yeah, that's really funny. We'll have to do a webinar topic on that because I know how you feel. And I think like a big thing to think about is kind of the overall picture, like how geared is your Sunday school for growth? How are you guys organized in your follow-up and other things like that? Like for us, we had a similar type of story. We went from, hey, we've got this bus and we're doing ridiculous things like filling it up with balloons and probably not easy for somebody to drive. And then all of a sudden, go from, hey, we had 3 kids to we have 100 kids, right? And the problem was Sunday school wasn't ready for that, and we had to really re-gear things on the Sunday school side of the house. So we'll have to have a session on that sometime. But the big thing I think is, well, actually, I'll let you chime in, Jillian. Anything you want to offer on your thoughts?
Um, my thought, I was just going to message you, was Philip and Dwayne would be great for
I
talking
agree.
about that. But Philip's site does talk about that, about the
Mhm.
bus ministry aspect of it and keeping up. Um, I don't have a bus ministry going yet, full force, so
Mhm.
I'm trying to gear up for once we have it.
Yeah, yeah, and we will definitely have to do that. I like that suggestion there, Jillian. It would be awesome to do a bus webinar with Philip and Dwayne. I think they
Yeah.
would be great guys to feature for that stuff because again, I have huge respect for what they're doing in their ministries. And Nicole, you're saying there, well, a lot of our kids come from really bad areas, so a lot
Sure.
of them know nothing but fighting. And that's interesting stuff. So it sounds like it would just be a really great topic to do a bus ministry webinar sometime soon.
Mhm.
Let's see if there are any specific questions before we wrap up because we're actually over time. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up soon. Yeah, so I see Jessica and Velda are talking about special outings. So that's something that it can be a little bit of work to do, but I
Mhm.
think I think if you have a bus ministry, and even if you are working purely with church kids that are born and raised in church, there's something so special about spending time outside of Sunday morning that really changes the dynamic.
Mhm.
But but I think that breaks down a lot of walls for kids that you pick up, from off the different streets that you're reaching out to. It just really says something when you make the effort to do that. Here out in California, I used to do a trip with kids to Santa Cruz. It was like a 45-minute drive, and this was pre vans and buses and all that stuff. And our poor bus would not make it over through the Santa Cruz mountains. But that was something we did. We had to get all these papers signed and all that other stuff, but it was worth it. And it just created such an awesome bond. So I highly recommend that. If you can organize it, it's worth it. Somebody's talking about Pickle Sunday. Uh,
Mm.
okay, so we'll wrap up with just a couple more comments here. So Tina says we do a bunch. Okay, so talking about I think things to motivate here. Songs on bus. We have. Let's see. Okay, so she said songs on bus. What else? We have paperwork to fill out, and we follow up with a bag of goodies. Yeah, so that's another thing we can point out. Maybe if people want ideas on what type of paperwork to fill out, to be able to keep organized. We can highlight some of that stuff too, and it'd be fun to have some of my bus captains hop on and join in the conversation there. So I see about Pickle Sunday. I did actually see on Instagram some people just literally giving out pickles for Sunday as a thing. Like, it's like, hey, Cotton Candy Sunday, well, actually Pickle Sunday. So that's kind of fun.
I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally not a pickle person, so I don't know if I'd be like, yes, I am so riding this bus for pickles. But like, if it works, right? Like, why not? So that's really fun. Pickle Sunday, very creative. I would have never personally thought of Pickle Sunday. So, okay. So with that, thank you, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this. And, let's feel free to keep the conversation going. We'll post up a replay of this on the website at NextLevelKidmin.com. And if you have, thoughts, comments, or ideas for future sessions, feel free to email or put comments down so we have some ideas. And we'll also be doing that Instagram wall of Apostolic Kidmin, right? So you'll see some of these different people that are on here featured. If you want to be on that wall, please go ahead and email and let us know, and get on the mailing list too, so we can keep you in the loop on any other of these events that are going on. So thank you, everybody, for joining. And some of the topics that are coming up, we're going to be talking about now from this. We'll definitely be talking about bus ministry. We'll also be highlighting Philip Booker of Apostolic Sunday School fame, amongst many other things. So he can just give some ideas and tips on object lessons. Then that'll be a really great session too, along with the bus ministry one. There's going to be a session on classroom management as well. So if you have other topics and ideas that you want to have covered, please let us know. So with that, thank you, everybody, for joining us, and hope to see you again real soon. Take care, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye.
If you like this video, make sure to click subscribe so that you can stay in the loop for more Kidmin tips, tricks, and ideas. See you in the next video. Subscribe.